Orchids are stunning, but let's be honest, they can be a little dramatic when it comes to watering. Too much, and their roots rot. Too little, and they dry out. So how often should you actually water them? Well, it depends. Is your orchid in bark or moss? Bark dries out faster, so watering once a week is usually enough. Moss, however, holds moisture longer, meaning you might only need to water every 10 to 14 days. But wait, doesn't humidity play a role too? Absolutely. If you live in a humid area, your orchid might not need water as often. However, if your home is dry, you'll have to check the roots more frequently. A humidity level between 50% and 70% is ideal for orchids, so placing a small humidifier nearby or using a pebble tray can help maintain moisture levels. Speaking of roots, have you ever noticed they change color? Healthy roots should be green or silvery white. If they're brown and mushy, you're overwatering. If they're shriveled and dry, your orchid is thirsty. And here's something important. Always water in the morning so excess moisture can evaporate throughout the day. Otherwise, stagnant water at night increases the risk of fungal infections. So, what about ice cubes? You might have heard that placing an ice cube on the potting mix is a good way to water orchids. It sounds convenient, but is it actually safe? Well, orchids are tropical, and freezing water can shock their roots. Therefore, lukewarm water is always a better choice. If you're worried about overwatering, try the soak and drain method. Water the orchid thoroughly until water drains from the bottom, then wait until the roots are dry before watering again. And what happens if you forget to water? Don't panic. Orchids are resilient. However, if the leaves become wrinkled or droopy, they're asking for hydration. Just be careful not to overcompensate by soaking them too much. Instead, water them gradually over a couple of days to let the roots absorb moisture without getting overwhelmed. Now, should you water orchids at night or in the morning? Morning is best because it gives the plant time to dry out before cooler nighttime temperatures, reducing the risk of rot. And speaking of rot, always make sure your orchid's pot has drainage holes. Standing water at the bottom is a fast way to kill your plant. But what about seasonal changes? Orchids have different water needs depending on the time of year. During active growth in spring and summer, they require more frequent watering, usually once a week. However, in fall and winter, their growth slows down, and they need less water, sometimes only every 2 weeks. If your orchid is in bloom, it may need slightly more water, but avoid overdoing it, or else the flowers might drop prematurely. Another factor to consider is air circulation. Orchids in stuffy environments retain moisture longer, increasing the risk of fungal issues. Placing a small fan nearby can help air circulate around the plant, allowing the roots to breathe. Moreover, proper airflow prevents stagnant water from settling in the crown, which is a common cause of crown rot. So, here's the bottom line. Water your orchid based on its potting mix, environment, and root condition. And if you're unsure, simply touch the roots. If they're dry, it's time for a drink. If not, wait a little longer.